Hi, great to have you back. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. If you've been watching my other videos, you will know we have covered cell structure and cell division. Today we will look at transport in cells and topic 1 of cell biology, as always with some tips, linking words and exam questions. Transport in cells has 3 parts to it: active transport, diffusion and osmosis. We will look at diffusion today. Diffusion is a simple process which involves a gradual movement of particles so the particles are spread out. We can say diffusion happens when substances move from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. Diagram A shows before diffusion. Diagram B shows after diffusion. We can see before diffusion we have an area of lots of particles, so this is an area of high concentration, and an area with fewer particles, so this is an area of low concentration. After diffusion, the particles have moved from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration and now are spread out. Diffusion can happen in both solutions and gases. The reason for this is that the particles are able to move. The process of diffusion involves cells. Substances are transported in and out of the cell by diffusion. Here we can see a diagram of the cell. We can see the cell membrane, we can see the outside of the cell and the inside of the cell. Substances involved are oxygen and carbon dioxide. The oxygen diffuses into the cell, whereas the carbon dioxide diffuses out of the cell. Carbon dioxide is a waste gas. Diffusion takes place in the cells of the body. In humans, it takes place in the respiratory system or in the digestive system. In the respiratory system, it takes place in the lungs. In particular, it takes place in the alveoli. In the digestive system, it would be in the small intestines, and it would be the villi inside of the small intestines. We will look at the respiratory system and the digestive system in more detail in future videos. You should know that the surfaces and organ systems are specialised for exchanging materials. The exchange surfaces are adapted for the function of diffusion. Let's look at the alveoli to start off with. The alveoli has a large surface area. It also has thin membranes, and you can see it has lots of blood capillaries, so it has a good supply of blood. All these factors contribute to effective diffusion. The blood capillaries provide efficient blood supply. The small intestines have lots of folds. The folds provide a large surface area. Villi are also thin. The process of diffusion can also happen in fish. Fish have gills. The gills are covered with lamellae, which are tiny structures. Both the gills and lamellae provide a large surface area. The process of diffusion also happens in plants, where the carbon dioxide diffuses through the holes at the bottom of the leaf. Let's have a look at the factors that affect the rate of diffusion. These are difference in concentration gradients, temperature, and surface area of the membrane. The higher the concentration gradient, the faster the rate of diffusion. The higher the temperature, higher the rate of diffusion, and the larger the surface area, faster the rate of diffusion. This brings us to the last section, exam questions. Question 1, worth 2 marks. In the human body, glucose is absorbed into the blood from the small intestines. The small intestines contain many villi. Which 2 of the following helps the absorption of glucose in the small intestines? Tick 2 correct responses. If we think back to the villi, we should think about folds. If we think about the folds, we should think about the large surface area. If we think about the large surface area, we should think of effective diffusion. Also, for villi, we should think of lots of blood capillaries, which gives efficient blood supply. So let's have a look at the options. Villi have a cell wall. Villi are covered in thick mucus. Villi give the small intestines a large surface area. We have established surface area is an important factor, and villi have many blood capillaries, and we've established it has lots of blood capillaries. So our 2 responses would be the small intestines have large surface area and many blood capillaries. Question 2, our lungs help us breathe. The image below shows the human breathing system. Name part A, worth 1 mark. We have where it's showing the lungs, the heart, but we know we have to look at the human breathing system, so that would involve the lungs. We have to look at the structures inside of the lungs. Gas exchange happens inside of the lungs in special structures called alveoli. We can also say air sacs. Question 2, part B. Use the correct answers from the choices below to complete the sentence. Active transport, diffusion, and osmosis. Oxygen moves from the air inside the lungs into the blood by a process of, and we looked at gas exchange in this lesson, and we looked at the process of diffusion. And this is worth 1 mark. Part C, inside the lungs, oxygen is absorbed from the air into the blood. Give 2 adaptations of the lungs that help the rapid absorption of oxygen into the blood. This is worth 2 marks. The lungs involved gas exchange. The structure in the lungs involving gas exchange was the alveoli. So let's have a look at the things we should remember when we talk about the alveoli. First thing we should remember is there's lots of alveoli. Second thing we should remember about alveoli is they are surrounded with lots of blood capillaries. The blood capillaries are responsible for efficient blood supply. Another factor about alveoli is that they are thin, and that provides a shorter distance for the diffusion pathway. But in our answer, we can write any of these factors here. But remember, if you write about the alveoli, you must write about the blood capillaries and the blood supply to guarantee the mark. And if you talk about them being thin, you must write about the distance and the diffusion pathway. So we will write lots of alveoli surrounded by lots of blood capillaries, allowing effective diffusion. And the second one we can write down is that the alveoli are thin, which makes the exchange surface have a shorter distance for the diffusion pathway. The key factors when we're talking about the lungs: should be about alveoli. Talk about the quantity of the alveoli. We should talk about the alveoli being thin, and because they are thin, it's having a shorter distance. The linking word for today is diffusion. When we think of diffusion, we should think of exchange surfaces. When we think of exchange surfaces, we should think of thin. When we think of thin, we should think of the distance being short. Think of exchange surfaces, think of large surface area. Also think of lots of blood capillaries and the efficient blood supply. Also for diffusion, we should think of substances moving from a high concentration to a low concentration. Diffusion is a simple process and involves no energy. Thank you for watching. Join me for the next video. Remember to like, share and subscribe to my channel.